Here we go. It looks like we do in fact have a quorum. Let me go ahead and do a quick roll call for you all. Are you able to hear us, Madam Supervisor?
Yes.
Alrighty. All right, I'm going to go ahead and begin with a roll call. Please state your name for the record.
Oh, hold on a minute.
I'm sorry.
Before you do roll call, because I have to open the meeting first.
Okay.
But what I need to know, anyone that's on the line, if they will just say their name so that we then know that they're on the line, and then I'll call the meeting to order, and then you can do your roll call.
Bessine Richard is here.
Phil Duper. Phil Duper's here.
Frank Navarro.
Councilmember Duper.
Councilmember
Mayor.
Suchel's. Councilmember Suchel's here.
Member Sucho.
Councilmember Theodore Sanchez here.
Member Sanchez. Anyone
Frank
else?
Navarro's here.
Okay.
Dusty
All right,
Rigsby.
Madam Clerk. Oh. Okay. Anyone else? All right. I believe we have a quorum. I will now at this time call to order the regular meeting of the Inland Valley Development Agency for this May 13th, year 2020. Madam Clerk, would you please do roll call?
Yes. All right. Members, please state your name for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Isaac Suchel.
Thank you. And for the record, Member Woods was also with us in the audience. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Phil Duper.
And Dusty Rigsby.
Thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 5th District.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Thank you. And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Theodore Sanchez.
Bessine Richard.
Thank you. And then I believe Mayor Valdivia just joined us as well.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ken.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. And Mayor Valdivia is here as well, for the record.
Very good. All right. Then now I will ask Mr. Burrows, will there be a closed session?
Yes, there will.
All right. At this time, I would ask, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on an item on closed session?
There are no public comments here in the auditorium, nor did I receive any through email. We gave the public the ability to submit comments via email until 1 p.m. today. I received none.
Very well, then we will recess for a closed session. Is everyone back?
Looks like we have a majority of the folks back. Let me check. Yes, looks like we have everyone back.
Phil Duper's giving us a thumbs up, so must be good. All right. At this time, I am asking, is there any reportable about a closed session?
There is not, Madam Chair.
All right. So we call into order the open session, and would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And if you don't have a flag, then face north. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, at this time, Mr. Burrows, are there any items to be added or deleted from the agenda?
No item, Supervisor.
Any conflicts of interest to be declared? Hearing none. Any informational items to be presented, Mr. Burrows?
Yes, we have a few, and if you'd indulge us for a few moments, we wanted to give you a kind of a state of the state of IVDA here today. I want to start actually with Mr. Gibbs. Obviously, part of IVDA's formation was to support a thing called an airport, and wanted to give you guys a quick snapshot of how things are going out there with SPD. Mark, if you would.
Thank you, Mike. Staying mindful of personal safety and implementing good practices, we're pleased to say that the airport continues to meet its federal obligations and has stayed open throughout this crisis. And that's really important. The airport provides a critical point of access to the national transportation system. And so we've been doing our part to make sure that the doors stay open, and we do it in a safe way. So throughout these kind of unprecedented times, we've continued to support our partners, and that includes, we've seen an increase in cargo shipments. So we've seen an increase in the size of aircraft, and the schedules have also increased to accommodate the additional volume of critical goods and increased shipments around California. So in addition to that, we've also seen an increase and been able to accommodate some of our industry partners through our MROs. They've been helping out industry partners in parking aircraft. That includes approximately 53 aircraft for Delta, and potentially more to come. We hope not, but if that's the case, we try to be creative and support these different industry segments. Our maintenance companies so far are weathering the storm, and we've seen some other business lines affected, but the airport's here for the community, and the airport's here for our industry partners through these tough times. Thank you, Mike.
Next, I'd like Ms. Pritchett to give us a quick personnel update.
Thank you and good afternoon. We have two personnel items to share. First, Brandy Goodman, who has served as our Deputy Clerk of the Board for the past 3 years, has accepted a position with the municipality in Orange County. Continuing our conviction of professional development and internal growth, we're happy to share that Jennifer Rodriguez, who has been our analyst in the Clerk of the Board department for 5 years, was trained and ready to step into that vacancy. We'd like to again congratulate Jennifer, and we have no doubt that she'll be able to really succeed in that new position. We are now actively recruiting to fill the analyst position, which is now vacant. Second, we would like to welcome Alex Cousins to the IVDA team. Alex is a part-time accounting specialist while he finishes up his degree at UCR in the fall. But the balance of our IVDA team is healthy, practicing social distancing, and hard at work. And with that, that concludes my report, and stay healthy.
And then two more, and then we're done here. The grant arena certainly is active, given the situation we're all in, but wanted to give you an update of what we've had in queue. Ms. Beltran has been pounding the keys to make sure we keep up with things. Obviously, actively, Miriam and Jim, Mr. Harris, have been working with our partners on the 3rd and 5th Street EDA grant. That is getting teed up to go to bid for construction, thankfully. It is fully funded, and it is a collaboration with IVDA, the City of Highland, and the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. We also have rounded the environmental technical elements to be able to submit the Sterling Avenue grant to the Department of Commerce. They're aware of it. They've invited us to do so, so we are definitely going to be submitting that here in the coming days, if not week. And in following that, we also were able, in these trying times, to get an additional grant app in with the Leonard Transportation Center at Cal State University San Bernardino for some workforce development funds in emerging industries, and we await to hear how that is going. Lastly, as many of your agencies saw, the Department of Commerce issued an announcement for additional CARES Act funding for COVID-19, and like many agencies, we're putting packages together, and we'll likely have a submission in for that. The last bit is Mountain View. It remains, too, under construction, thanks to Mr. Harris and the team. Griffith Companies is our general contractor, and they are actively working on the last utility relocations. At the same time, they are in the Mission Creek Channel, getting ready to start reconstruction of that, and so it will really definitely start taking shape here in the coming weeks. So Jim, thank you for your diligence in there in the field, and thanks to our construction team out there working the work. With that, that concludes my reports. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
Madam Chair, Hagman.
I will second it. Phil Duper.
Was that Supervisor Hagman?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion from Supervisor Hagman and a second, was it from Councilmember Duper?
Yes, ma'am.
I can go
All
ahead and
right,
do
I
a
have a
roll
motion
call.
and a second.
Madam
Any
Chair,
opposition on this?
Madam Chair, correction, it's Mayor Duper.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, heaven.
Madam Chair.
Congratulations, I'm out of touch. You know?
No,
Yes,
no,
sir.
no, no. I am just a nobody in humble service. That's all. And you are all the most important people. So thank you. But
And
no.
I'd like to request a call roll
No.
just for the record.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you very much. All right, please state your name for the record. If you say aye, members from the city of Colton.
Frank Navarro, yes.
Isaac Suchel, yes.
Thank you. Members from the city of Loma Linda.
Phil Duper, yes.
Dusty Rigsby, yes.
Thank you very much. Members from the county of San Bernardino, 5th District.
Aye.
Member from the county of San Bernardino, 4th District.
Hagman, aye.
Thank you. And members from the city of San Bernardino.
Valdivia, yes.
Bessine
Theodore
Richard,
Sanchez.
yes.
Theodore Sanchez, yes.
Thank you very much.
That item passes. Next, we move on to item number 8 under the discussion calendar. Item number 8 is to approve amendment number 1 to Master Storm Drain Reimbursement Agreement with Real Estate Development Associates, LLC. Mr. Burrows, would you please present this item?
Thank you. As our board members may recall, back in June of last year, we were able to construct a reimbursement agreement with REDA, as they are termed, the acronym, who is developing substantial infrastructure and facilities in what we have been working on in our Central Avenue corridor, just west and south of the airport. That work has been going quite well, so well that they are able to finally get the main backbone connection to the Twin Creek Channel, which required substantial permitting, including Samuel County Flood Control, but also the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And to expedite the process, we asked REDA if they would advance the payment to the Army Corps and the resource agencies for the environmental mitigation. That totaled just under $93,000. So staff is requesting that we make a basic amendment to the June 2019 agreement to increase that amount. We, in your board packet, have a PowerPoint presentation with some active shots of the construction itself. You'll see this is a sizable box channel that had to be constructed. But what that does is it actually completes the backbone infrastructure for hundreds of acres of property and ensures increased public safety. So we would request that you support this and the continued work out there in the field. Happy to answer any
And at City
questions.
Hall, I'm at the IVDA meeting in my office.
So that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any board members?
Everything's cool, sir.
All right, at this time, if there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
Madam
I'll
Chair.
move the
item. Councilmember Sucho moves the item.
Okay. I'll be stopping by tomorrow because I need to ask you on the recap of budget items for the year. That million plus.
Mayor Navarro.
Mayor Navarro.
Okay.
In hearing,
Okay, thank you and good luck with the finger.
Mayor Navarro, you're unmuted. Anyway, I move the item, Supervisor.
Second, Valdivia, second.
all right, was that motion?
Isaac Sucho moves the item.
Valdivia, second.
Thank you. Madam,
Yes. Please state your name and your vote. Members from the City of Colton,
Navarro, yes.
Isaac, yes.
members from the City of Loma Linda,
Phil Duper, yes.
Steve Rigsby, yes.
thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 5th District.
aye.
Member from the County of San Bernardino, 4th District.
Agman, aye.
Members from the City of San Bernardino.
Theodore Sanchez, yes.
Bessinger Richard, yes.
Valdivia, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right, the item is approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to item, which is to consider and discuss the temporary permit request from the San Bernardino Airport of debt service.
I think we're getting a lot of feedback from a mic on. Anyone here? I'm having issues.
I'm having the
issues,
same.
too.
It sounds like someone is moving in the background of their session. Sounds like footsteps.
All right,
Okay,
that sounds
thank you
better
anyway.
now. At this time, I will ask Mr. Burrows to please present this item.
Thank you, Supervisor. So, last Sabia Commission meeting, Mr. Cousino brought forward a proposal to request a temporary deferment of a debt service payment. And this goes to the debt payments where IVDA has, over the years, worked to help the airport get to self-sustainability. It's part of our original member mission as a Joint Powers Authority. And rather than presuppose a structure, I thought it prudent to bring the request to the board and seek your consensus to proceed with this. You know, given what Mr. Gibbs has indicated, we as an IVDA and an airport, you know, are certainly grappling with these times, but I would like Mr. Cousino to just give a little bit of background on what the debt instrument is, and then we would seek your support, hopefully, to develop a structure to bring back in before you. But Mark, if you could just give a little bit of background on what this is, and we'll go from there, okay?
Right. Thank you, Mike. As Mike stated, this actually originates all the way back from essentially 2004, a loan of $2.6 million. In 2005, another loan of $2.6 million to reimburse the member agencies for their support during the startup time for Sabia. Those loans were combined in 2014, and Sabia has been making steady payments on those since that point in time. And just simply due to the COVID crisis, the pandemic, and the impacts on the aviation sector, we believe it was prudent action to go ahead and raise this issue and look at asking the board's direction in obtaining some kind of relief.
And I would just add to that, that for those that had seen and been around the region for some time, the reason the IVDA had done that action was paramount to the base reuse reality that Sabia, when it first got formed, had a lot of assets but not a lot of cash, and it needed to find creative ways to keep the runway lights on and begin operating as an airport. So IVDA, when it began to get economic development and redevelopment resources, took a discretionary action to take the debt of the members who had supported the airport all those years and pay it all back in full plus interest, which they did. So that's the backdrop of it. The structure that we would propose, certainly we wouldn't want to get into those weeds today. We're just seeking your consent to go forward or advise the airport that we need to look at other means. So that concludes our presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions, board members? None? Did I miss it, Mike, or did you give any kind of, I see here on the second page, that agreement quickly provided sufficient financial services for $2.6 million. How would this, what's the propensity of this affecting us negatively on the back end? I know on the front end, it's good, but trying to think ahead.
Yeah, actually, the loan, when it was restructured in 2014, took that into consideration and actually extended some term. That's provided, the necessary levity, pre-COVID for the airport to do some of the amazing things it's been able to do. So those are the types of factors that Mr. Cousino, Mr. Gibbs, and I will certainly take into consideration in developing a structure. Fortunately, on the IVDA side, we do have the capability fiscally to develop this type of relief. But Supervisor, that structure was certainly developed to be able to do that, and likely we would present a short-term extension of the final payment given this environment. But I do want to, in complete due diligence, at least wait till the June meeting to be able to provide you all with a final recommendation on that, as like with all your agencies, we are monitoring cash flows, inflows, and outflows on a multiple times a day basis, but thankfully we find ourselves in a better position than some.
All right, just want to make sure that we're cognizant of any unintended consequences. I don't know if perhaps when it comes back in June, we can ensure that there are no long-term interest accruals that later on someone says, well, why didn't they think of this, that, and the other? And perhaps if it didn't need to be done, it shouldn't have been done. And if it was done, make sure that we identify the reasons why.
Certainly,
All right.
Supervisor, and thankfully Mr. Cousino has been a rock star for us at a time that we did need him and his creativity and guidance, and he's up to the challenge, I think. So appreciate that.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
this is Mayor Navarro. I just have one quick question. I'm in support of the item, but I just have one quick question. In reading the restated and amended loan agreement of 2014, I don't see an end date in here for this agreement. Can you kind of indicate what that end date for the loan is?
Yeah, so
Mike?
we've not attached the loan package to this intentionally, but Mr. Cousino probably has recollection of the current due date for the balloon payment. I believe it's coming up in 2021, I'm sorry.
I saw 2021, with this extension, it's it's going to be okay?
Well,
You know, like the
that's
supervisor
what,
asked, is
that's
there
what
anything that
with,
might fall
yeah.
apart at the end of this thing?
Yes, yes, we believe so at this point, but we would like your support and a few more days to make sure that we've crunched the numbers a couple ways so that we give the right recommendation to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, this is only a receive and file, so I don't believe we need a motion or anything on this one, correct? Legal counsel?
You do not, Madam Chair.
All right, moving on to item number 10, which is to consider and discuss a report on economic development initiatives. Mr. Burrows?
Now, I know given the incredible times we're all managing through right now, this seems a little odd, but in your action plan for the year, this was teed up for the last meeting that was canceled, and I did want to at least touch on some things. There are a few rays of hope out there, and I think we all need to see those from time to time. So we've got a quick PowerPoint overview that I want to run through, and we'll start with, this is a recap. Now, granted, this was a spot in time pre-COVID where we report out to our bondholders in the community how assessed values were going within our base reuse project area. And at the time of our bond disclosure in March, we had some good results, about a 9.6% overall increase at $8.4 billion, a new record. Obviously, we're realistic and are crunching the numbers to make sure that we stay in touch with our business community and that we're making sure we've got a finger on the pulse. As of right now, like you see in many areas, we're seeing effects and impacts, but many of our tenants are strong and resourceful, and they're hanging in there right now. But we are monitoring closely. I wanted you to know that. And on that note, I do want to thank each and every one of you for your leadership. Each of your agencies have done an incredible job, I think, of keeping up with these times and making sure that your constituents and your residents are getting the most updated information possible. To our supervisors and our Chairman Hagman, I see your emails constantly, and I thank you for that. Our business community out here at IVDA, I think, shares in that. So, again, keep up the good work. The next slide, obviously, our flagship public-private partnership, our alliance with Hillwood is holding tight, and they are continuing to work the work. Mr. Magnus echoed his sentiment and thanks for your ardent support over the years. They are continuing to work on the Northgate project. This is just west of our board chambers here on the other side of Del Rosa. And the City of San Bernardino staff continue to work with them. And so for our San Bernardino officials, thank you for your staff. They're continuing to do the proper inspections on active construction, and your economic development and community development team are very responsive with us and our partners. So please pass on, as we do, our thanks to those hardworking individuals. The timeline, of course, on Northgate slides, as things do during these times, but it is still being pursued. Part of what this strange time has done is allowed some of our core team on the specific plan process to catch up. As you recall, at our last report, there's an environmental process that goes with a specific plan, and that requires that detailed technical studies are prepared correctly. As the supervisor pointed out some weeks back, changes in state law in January change some of the dynamic and modeling protocols, and we have to keep up with those times as well. Happy to report that those technical studies are wrapping up right now, and that Ms. Beltran and I had a very successful call with PlaceWorks, our consultant that's completing the plan itself, and they were elated to see that data come in so they can finish the last chapters. So I do anticipate an extensive public outreach with this. This is an important 600-acre plan involving 2 cities, which abuts our county of San Bernardino. All of you are dealing with your general plans or have, and it's important that we get this right. So We should have drafts of the concepts back to you here in the next few months, but this is an important step towards the future. And to do that, we have to take our current times into consideration. So next slide, if you could. Part of that technical analysis included extensive engineering and hydrology work on the City Creek bypass channel. We own a part. Our partners at the county flood control have the balance of it, and everybody's got to be on the same page. So we were able to develop a design that met the regional board requirements. We reviewed that extensively with flood control staff, and we're happy to report that they have accepted that design. It is incorporated into the documents and will be folded into the plan. Next slide, if you could. Mountain View project, as we touched on, Mr. Harris is down there many times a day. The Mission Creek Channel is the focus right now. Coordination is ongoing with SBCTA and the Redlands Passenger Rail Project, and as Jim knows all too well, a whole lot of utility companies. But it is progressing, and we're happy to see Griffith and their teams doing some good work. So keep up the good work, Jim. Next slide is the 3rd and 5th Street corridor improvements. As I reported earlier, those are being prepped for construction bids, and both ourselves and the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians folks are anxious to see that get out on the street. We desperately need to make sure that those improvements are going forward. It's a key corridor for us and a whole lot of current and future businesses and residents out there. Next slide is Central Avenue Corridor. This is that master storm drain project we discussed previously. Thankfully, work has continued with RITA, and we are getting significant interest still in these buildings. They're not even up yet, and I'm proud to report that we've been, I think, a good broker for RITA. I would hope to say that. We're not their broker, but we're trying to assist our partners through these times and make sure as we get inquiries and queries that they know the availability there, because these are airport compatible buildings, and we want to make sure we get the best companies welcomed into our area. So hats off to RITA for keeping things moving, and thank you all for your support of this. One of them I want to highlight in case any of you in your travels hear of a requirement for this type of space. One of their first ones to be available will be coming up here in November of this year. It's 100,000 square feet. It's right off of Central Avenue, south and west of the airport. Following that, our Alliance California partnership is nearing its 20th anniversary, and our Hillwood team is doing a good job of first off, property management for the parcels that they still lease or own or manage, and ensuring that the quality standards that the IVDA established many moons ago are being upheld even during these difficult times. So I do want to point that out there. Last slide, I think is been one of the lightning rods for me as we work through solutions to things. You all were supportive with establishing a unmanned aerial systems initiative, and that has really taken shape. Our team has come up with some really great ideas. Supervisor Hagman has been fantastic at connecting us with folks, and I'm proud to report that through these distant times, we were still able to execute an MOU with Caltech and San Bernardino County, thanks to Supervisor Hagman, to help us launch this initiative. Caltech is, as you all know, a leader in many things, but UAS technology is definitely part of that. They are very, very deep in aerospace. They also are the parent organization of JPL, and they have said they want to help us get this off the ground. So really excited about that, and Supervisor, do appreciate your being able to be accessible and support us through this effort. So that, I hope, ends on a better note.
I'm going to have to owe you lunch after today, Mike. You're getting too much praise.
But
I
no,
honestly haven't paid him.
no, it's all right, but I do appreciate it. This was your idea many moons ago, and I want to make sure people realize that. So happy to answer any questions, board members.
Board members, any questions? Hearing none, I will join in saying thank you to Supervisor Hagman for his continued interest and being able to help us to make the necessary contacts and start building relationships that lead to these kinds of projects coming to fruition. So I thank you very much, Supervisor Hagman, and yes, you can owe me lunch. It's all right.
I know
Okay.
you do.
All right.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes, sir?
this is Councilmember Sucho. I have a question for Mike real quick.
Yes, sir.
Mike Burrows, would you be able to do a press release on this? Because I think it's a positive thing for the area, and it'll offset any negativity that's been going around. So maybe a good sign of things coming would make our area seem nice.
I was hoping you'd say that, council member. We have a draft in front of Supervisor Hagman. I won't put words in his mouth. That's his job to give us his words, and we will certainly get that ready for release. And when we do, we will certainly share it with all the board members and the media. So thank you for that. We're happy to do so.
Thanks. That's great. Please track me down, Mike.
Will do, Kurt.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, this is also a receive and file item. So I will be moving on to item number 11, which is to review status of the action plan for the Inland Valley Development Agency through June 30th of 2020. Mr. Burrows.
Okay, I'll take you straight to the current period that we're in here. Obviously, you just heard a report on economic development and our specific plan. Like all of your agencies, we are budget, and reviewing things, I think, forwards, backwards, and up and down at the same time. But we are on track to present a draft budget for adoption coming up here at your next June meeting. That really, amongst keeping the day-to-day and current operations safe and healthy, budget is where we focus and round out right now from here to June. And with, again, your consensus, that will include looking at the debt instrument there with the airport and seeing what we can do to help there. Happy to answer any questions on that, and we will have I think, a more robust agenda for you in June. So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Mike, I have one.
Questions?
This is Supervisor Hagman. I'm wondering what, if anything, you've seen or heard about in the CARE Act funding number 2 that we may be working with. I know Ontario Airport is working the halls, so to speak, because they may have some money in for airports, infrastructure projects, things like that. I'm just wondering, have you been working with our lobbyist?
Yes, and like Mr. Thorpe, I think it's a couple of times a day at this point. So we are fortunate to be members, as Mark is, with Airports Council International and the American Association of Airport Executives. They've done a yeoman's job of communication throughout all of this. Ms. Pritchett and I were able to speak to Congressman Aguilar, who, as you know, is on appropriations the other day, and our entire aviation community is beating the drum for additional CARES funding. As many of you saw, the initial draft that was released the other day, the HEROES Act, as they called it, also included proposed funding for state and local governments, which we fully support for all of you as well. But our entire airport community, and also, you know, in part of the airlines with the relief that they received in the previous CARES Act funding, see the need for airport infrastructure improvements. So we're aligned with the industry's message and have sent our endorsements to our delegation. Our trade associations are really pounding the pavement at this point. So thank you, Supervisor, and any time you have the opportunity as leaders to put in a good word for funding for airports, it is direly needed and greatly appreciated. SBD, unfortunately, did not receive substantial funding in the final shakeout of the last CARES round, and that's because that focus was on airports that had two things primarily. Debt, which your airport does not have much of, no bonded debt whatsoever, and passenger service. At one point, there was a formula distribution for some cargo funding. That got taken out in the final Senate version. So,
Yeah, well, just plant a seed, and for those going to be seeing Metro Valley session tomorrow, SBCTA, you're getting a preview, is, you know, I've been working with Future Technologies. We have a unsolicited proposal for the Boring Company to connect Metrolink North to Ontario Airport, which I encourage them to do. The cost is literally 5 cents on the dollar, what we're looking at doing other projects with to connect those different parts. I mean, literally to build a 45-foot tunnel underground or 45-foot depth for 1.75 miles for Metrolink to the airport with autonomous driving vehicles back and forth, we're looking at $24 million, which is not much.
Wow.
But I think the critical connection between San Bernardino International and Ontario International for cargo and the possibility of, with that distance being underground and cargo automated, is something that we can continue to work with our lobbyists, because what they're going to look for, they're going to spend another $3 trillion. Let's put it in reality here. They already spent $3 trillion, loaned out $4 trillion. No drunken congressman in the wildest dream ever spent this much money. And when it's all said and done, they're not looking necessarily to pay the bills because that's boring. So if we can give them some kind of vision of something really dramatic and have stations between the two airports for pickup and alleviate traffic, like an inland port concept, alleviate some of that traffic for something that's very reasonably priced, it may get some attention. And after everyone else has got their hand out up and down the state for a long period of time, it may be something they'll see a little bit better. So just an idea to pursue that. We'll present it to the SBCTA tomorrow. We got a variety of support from our board members on that committee. They're very excited about it, and it's very promising. So think about having a Tesla in our future here. Underground cargo.
That would be incredible, and if it makes sense, I'll certainly reach out to Ray and Mark and put some pen to paper with them as well. That's great. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Supervisor, I have a few comments.
Go ahead.
Thank you. You know, to Kurt's point, I think the beta test might be the opportunity. I understand Ontario Airport to San Bernardino International Airport, but the other opportunity would be, let's beta test underground cargo with automated autonomous vehicles from the rail lines here in San Bernardino just to our international airport. I know that many moons ago, we were talking about this just above ground on rail. I think Supervisor Gonzalez and I contemplated a discussion point about this last year, but that might be another opportunity if in fact the San Bernardino to Ontario is just too cost intense, what I imagine it would be. The other opportunity is, let's do it locally. Let's do it more for our rail lines and alleviate traffic here locally.
Sure. No, we'll explore all options and appreciate the creative thinking. We need it.
Anyone else? I would simply like to add, relative to the comments made, that in the stimulus funding, somehow only airports with passenger traffic were considered. And yet we are at a time where e-commerce is at its never before seen levels. It would seem that there would be a very direct connection, a relative connection to this airport, being that we are a cargo distribution airport that then is feeding into that demand, that e-commerce demand, and also all of the ancillary environmental benefits and health benefits that are being promoted and evidenced by the fact that this airport is here doing such a good volume, distribution volume. So I'd like for us to see how we can get ourselves in the front line of that, recognizing that the role we play, and then with all of the industrial zoning that is surrounding us, I think we make a legitimate argument. And on top of that, being that we're in the goods movement corridor, it's not like we have to go far-reaching out somewhere else. It's here. We're it. The logistics, the goods movement corridor, the airport, everything is in the demand. I think we could really put together a very nice proposal.
Certainly. Thank you, Supervisor. We'll get to work.
All right, sounds good. And this is a review and status item only, so I don't need a motion or a second. Going back, any further comments on this item? Hearing none, then I will ask from the general public. I will open the public comment section of this meeting. Anyone from the public wishing to come forward and speak on an item that is on or off this agenda but relative to this agency.
There are no public speakers currently at the meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Board members, I will close the public comment, bring it back before the board. And board members, any comments at this time? Hearing none, I will now adjourn this meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting Wednesday, June 10th at 3 p.m. Thank you very much. Be well and be blessed and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.